Commander Jinha Park stood at the window of Earth's orbital command station watching the stars. They looked peaceful tonight, but Jinha knew better. After 30 years of military service, he could smell trouble coming like a storm on them. "Findine, sir?" A young officer approached him. "We're getting reports from the outer sensors. Something big is heading our way." Jinha nodded without turning around. He had been expecting this day for a long time. "How many ships?" "At least 200, sir. Maybe more. They're still too far out to get an exact count." 200 ships. Jinha almost smiled. The aliens thought they were being generous by bringing such a small fleet. They had no idea what they were walking into. "Send word to Admiral Kwan and General Morrison," Jinha said. "Tell them it's time." The young officer saluted and hurried away. Jinha continued staring at the stars. Somewhere out there, alien ships were coming to destroy humanity, but they were 300 years too late. Dr. Ha-Rin Kim wiped the sweat from her forehead as she made the final adjustments to Project Lazarus. The machine hummed quietly in the underground lab, deep beneath the surface of Mars. She had spent 15 years building this device. Now she would finally get to use it. "Are you sure about this?" her assistant asked. The tests on volunteers showed some disturbing results. Ha-Rin looked at the metal chair connected to thousands of wires and cables. The chair that would change everything. The volunteers were not ready. They did not understand what we were trying to create. I do. She had studied the alien races for decades. She knew their strengths and weaknesses. The aliens were smart, but they thought in straight lines. They made plans and followed them exactly. Humans were different. Humans could change their minds in the middle of a battle and win because of it. But the aliens had better technology. They had faster computers. They had stronger weapons. So Ha-Rin had found a way to make humans faster than alien computers. She had found a way to make human minds work like machines, while keeping the creativity that made humans dangerous. "Begin the startup sequence," she told her assistant. "It's time to wake up the sleeping giant." On the moon, Admiral Quan Li sat in a room filled with screens and maps. Each screen showed a different part of the galaxy. Each map showed alien worlds that thought they were safe. Quan had been planning this day for most of his life. "Status report," he said to his staff. "All sleeper cells are in position," one officer replied. "We have agents on 47 alien worlds. They're waiting for your signal." "What about our fleet?" "Hidden and ready, sir. The enemy thinks we only have a few dozen ships. They have no idea about the others." Quan allowed himself a small smile. For 300 years, the aliens had treated humans like dangerous animals that needed to be kept in a cage. They had forbidden humans from leaving the solar system. They had stopped human trade with other species. They had tried to make humans weak and afraid. Instead, they had given humans time to prepare. Humans were good at pretending to be weak. They were even better at using that time to get ready for war. While the aliens thought humans were building mining stations, humans were actually building weapons. While the aliens thought humans were studying science, humans were actually studying how to kill aliens. "Send the message to all cells," Quan ordered. "Tell them the hunting season has begun." Captain Rex Torres climbed into the cockpit of his fighter ship. The ship looked normal from the outside, but Rex knew better. He had been testing this ship for 2 years. He knew what it could really do. "Control tower to Wraith 1, came the voice in his headset. "You are cleared for launch." Wraith 1. Rex liked the name. Wraiths were ghosts that could disappear and reappear anywhere they wanted. That was exactly what his ship could do. Rex pressed the launch button and felt the ship lift off from the hidden base inside an asteroid. As soon as he cleared the asteroid, he activated the phase drive. The ship seemed to flicker and fade, becoming almost invisible. "This is Wraith 1, Rex said into his radio. "Phase drive is working perfectly. I can see the alien fleet, but they can't see me." The alien ships were huge and impressive. They looked like floating cities covered in weapons and armor. Rex counted them as he flew past. 237 ships, just like the sensors had reported. "Wraith 1, "What do you see?" asked the voice from Earth. "I see aliens, who think they're about to fight the same humans they locked away 300 years ago," Rex replied. "They're in for a big surprise." Rex pressed another button and felt his ship bond with his nervous system. His thoughts became faster. His reactions became quicker. He could see in more directions at once. This was what Dr. Harin's research had created, the marriage of human minds with machine efficiency. "Beginning reconnaissance of enemy flagship," Rex reported. "Time to see what these aliens are really made of." General Jake Morrison stood in the war room deep beneath Colorado. Around him, holographic displays showed the positions of every human military unit on Earth and throughout the solar system. For the first time in 3 centuries, all of humanity's military forces were working together. "Sir," one of his lieutenants called out, "we're receiving the alien message now." Jake nodded grimly. "Put it on the main screen." The image of an alien commander appeared. The being had 4 arms, purple skin, and eyes like a shark. It spoke in perfect English, which meant it had been studying humanity for a long time. "Humans of Earth," the alien said. "I am Commander Vex Kular of the Galactic Hegemony. You have 48 hours to agree to our terms. You will submit to genetic modification. You will give up your weapons. You will accept supervision by our species. If you refuse, we will destroy your world and scatter your people across the galaxy as slaves." The message ended. The war room was quiet for a moment. "Well," Jake said finally, "I guess they don't know about our little surprise party." Jake had fought in the last human war before the aliens locked humanity in the solar system. He remembered what humans could do when they stopped playing nice. He remembered why the aliens had been afraid enough to cage humanity in the first place. But that was old humanity. The humanity that had learned to be polite and follow rules. The new humanity was something else entirely. Something that had spent 300 years learning how to be dangerous in ways the aliens had never imagined. "Send the reply," Jake ordered. The message was simple and direct. "Come and take it." Across the solar system, in hidden bases and secret facilities, humanity's war machines began to wake up. Ships that had been disguised as asteroids powered up their engines. Weapons that had been built inside mining stations extended from their hiding places. Soldiers who had trained their entire lives for this moment checked their equipment one last time. The aliens had made one crucial mistake. They thought that locking humans in the solar system would make them weak and afraid. Instead, it had given humanity time to become something the galaxy had never seen before. The children of Sol were no longer children. They had grown up to become something much more dangerous, and now it was time to show the galaxy what humans could really do. Commander Vex Kular stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching Earth grow larger on the main screen. The small blue planet looked so peaceful, so helpless. "This would be easy." "Sir," his communications officer said, "the humans have responded to our message." "What did they say?" Vex Kular asked. "Just 3 words, sir. Come and take it." Vex Kular laughed. Humans were so predictably stupid. They thought they could fight the galactic hegemony with their old ships and simple weapons. This would be over in minutes. "All ships prepare to attack," he ordered. "Destroy their defensive stations first. We'll save the planet for last so they can watch everything they built burn." But as the alien fleet moved closer to Earth, something strange began to happen. The asteroids around them started to move. The mining stations began to unfold. The research platforms opened like metal flowers, revealing weapons that were bigger than anything the aliens had ever seen. "Sir," the sensor officer shouted, "those aren't asteroids. They're ships, massive ships." Vex Kular stared in shock as humanity's true fleet revealed itself. What he had thought were space rocks were actually warships the size of small moons. What he had thought were harmless mining operations were actually weapon platforms that made his flagship look like a toy. "How many ships do they have?" he demanded. I can't count them all, sir. There are thousands, and they're all larger than our biggest dreadnoughts." Commander Jinha Park smiled as he watched the alien fleet stop dead in space. He could imagine their surprise. For 300 years, humans had been building this fleet in secret. Every mining ship that left Earth had been carrying parts. Every research station had been a construction facility. Signal from Admiral Quan, sir, his communications officer reported. He says it's time for Phase 1. Jinha nodded. Send the message to all ships. Light them up. Across the solar system, human warships powered up their weapons. But these weren't normal weapons. These were devices that Dr. Harin's team had spent decades perfecting. Weapons that could bend space and time. Weapons that could reach across impossible distances. Weapons that could think for themselves. Target the alien flagship, Jinha ordered. Let's introduce ourselves properly. Dr. Harin Kim was no longer entirely human. She sat in the Lazarus chair, her mind connected to every computer in the solar system. She could think at the speed of light. She could be in 1,000 places at once. She could see patterns that no normal brain could understand. And right now, she could see exactly how to destroy the alien fleet. Activating the quantum targeting system, she announced to her team. But her voice came from speakers throughout the solar system, not from her physical mouth. All human ships are now connected to the central battle network. We will fight as one mind with thousands of bodies. Harin's consciousness spread through every human warship. She became their targeting computer, their navigation system, their tactical advisor. She was no longer Dr. Harin Kim. She was the thinking brain of humanity's war machine. Beginning attack sequence, she said. Let me show these aliens what happens when humans stop playing nice. Admiral Quan Li watched the battle begin from his command center on the moon. But this wasn't just one battle. This was dozens of battles happening at the same time across the galaxy. Report from the Centauri cell, one of his officers said. The alien military base there has been destroyed. No survivors. Report from the Vegan system, another officer called out. Our agents have taken control of their communications network. They can't talk to their fleet. Report from the Rigel sector, a third officer announced. Their weapons factories are burning. They won't be making any more ships for a while. Quan had spent 50 years placing human agents throughout the galaxy. The aliens thought all humans were trapped in the solar system. They were wrong. Thousands of humans had been living among them, learning their secrets, waiting for this moment. How many targets have we hit? Quan asked. 47 alien worlds, sir. All military targets destroyed. All communications cut. The hegemony fleet here in our system can't call for help. Quan allowed himself a moment of satisfaction. The aliens had made a critical mistake. They had thought humans were just another species to be controlled. They didn't understand that humans were survivors, and survivors always had backup plans. Captain, Rex Torres felt his ship merge with his mind as the battle began. The Wraith fighter was no longer just a machine he was piloting. It was part of his body, part of his soul. He could feel its engines like his own heartbeat. He could sense its weapons like his own hands. Wraith 1 to all fighters, he said over the radio. Let's show them how humans really fight. Rex's ship phased out of normal space and reappeared inside the alien formation. The enemy ships couldn't see him coming. They couldn't track him. They couldn't even understand how he was moving through solid matter. He fired his weapons at point-blank range into the side of an alien cruiser. The ship exploded in a ball of fire. Before the other alien ships could react, Rex phased away and appeared behind another target. This is impossible, he heard an alien commander screaming over the radio. Their ships are violating the laws of physics. Rex laughed. Physics is just a suggestion when you're human. All around him, other human fighters were doing the same thing, appearing and disappearing like ghosts, striking from impossible angles, moving in ways that made no sense to alien minds. The alien fleet was built to fight other aliens, aliens who followed rules, aliens who fought with honor, aliens who used predictable tactics. Humans didn't follow rules. Humans made their own rules. General Jake Morrison led the ground assault on the alien flagship. His team had teleported directly onto the enemy bridge using technology the aliens didn't even know existed. Surrender now and we might let you live, Jake told the shocked alien commander. Vex Cooler stared at the humans in amazement. They had appeared out of nowhere, like magic. Their armor was unlike anything he had ever seen. It seemed to shift and change, adapting to every weapon his guards tried to use against them. "How did you get here?" Vex Cooler demanded. "Our shields should have stopped any teleportation." Jake smiled. "Your shields are designed to stop alien teleportation. We're human. We do things differently." One of Vex Cooler's officers tried to shoot Jake with a plasma rifle. The energy beam struck Jake's armor and was absorbed harmlessly. The armor learned from the attack and became stronger. "Your turn," Jake said. He didn't even draw a weapon. He simply pointed at the alien officer. A beam of pure energy shot from his finger and disintegrated the alien instantly. "What are you?" Vex Cooler whispered in terror. "We're what happens when you lock humans in a cage for 300 years, Jake replied. "We had a lot of time to think, a lot of time to plan, a lot of time to become something new." Across the solar system, the alien fleet was being destroyed piece by piece. Ships that had ruled the galaxy for centuries were being torn apart by human weapons they couldn't understand. Commanders who had never lost a battle were watching their fleets burn. But the worst part wasn't the destruction. It was the realization that they had been wrong about everything. Humans weren't the weak, primitive species they remembered. Humans had evolved. Humans had grown. Humans had become something that the galaxy had never seen before. "Sir!" Vex Cooler's sensor officer screamed. "Our entire fleet is down to 30%. We've lost over 100 ships in the first hour." "Impossible," Vex Cooler said. "We have the best technology in the galaxy. We have shields they can't penetrate. We have weapons they can't match." "Not anymore, sir. Their technology it's beyond anything we know. It's like they've had centuries to study our weaknesses and build weapons specifically designed to kill us." Vex Cooler felt a chill run through his four-armed body. That was exactly what the humans had done. They had spent 300 years in isolation, not sulking, but preparing. Preparing for this exact moment. "Send a message to the Hegemony Council," he ordered. "Tell them we were wrong. Tell them the humans aren't the same species we fought before. Tell them—" He paused, watching another of his ships explode on the screen. "Tell them we may have just awakened something that will destroy us all." But it was too late to send any messages. Harin's hybrid consciousness had already cut off all alien communications. The Hegemony Council would learn about humanity's return, the same way Vex Cooler was learning about it, by watching the heavens burn. High Admiral Thekmor had ruled the Galactic Hegemony's military for over 200 years. He had never lost a battle. He had never even been challenged. But now, as he stared at the reports flooding in from across the galaxy, his hands shook with fear. "How many fleets have we lost?" he asked his aide. 17 complete battle groups, sir. The humans appear to be everywhere at once. They strike without warning, destroy everything, and vanish before reinforcements arrive." Thekmor's 3 hearts beat faster. 17 fleets. Gone. That was more ships than most species owned in total. And the humans had destroyed them all, in just 3 days. "What about our defenses, our fortress worlds?" "Gone, sir. The humans don't attack them directly. They appear inside the shields, inside the bases, inside the command centers. Our defenses are useless against them." Thekmor closed his eyes. The Hegemony had made a terrible mistake. They had thought humans were just another aggressive species that needed to be contained. Now he understood the truth. Humans weren't just aggressive. They were something much worse. They were creative. Commander Jinha Park stood on the bridge of his captured alien dreadnought. It had taken his team only 20 minutes to take the ship. The aliens fought bravely, but they fought by rules. Humans had thrown away the rulebook 300 years ago. "Status report," he ordered. "We've taken control of 40 alien warships, sir," his tactical officer replied. "Engineering teams are already modifying them with our technology." Jinha nodded. This was the beauty of human warfare. Other species destroyed their enemies' ships. Humans stole them and made them better. Every captured alien vessel became a human weapon that the aliens couldn't defend against. "What about our main objective?" "The alien planet Zerion Prime is surrounded, sir. They can't escape and they can't call for help." Jinha walked to the main viewing screen. Xerion Prime was the hegemony's military headquarters. It was supposed to be the most defended planet in the galaxy, but human ships now filled the space around it like hungry wolves surrounding prey. "Open a channel to the Planetary Defense Commander," Jinha said. The screen showed an alien with gray skin and 6 eyes. The creature looked terrified. "I am Commander Jinha Park of the Human Solar Federation," Jinha said calmly. "You have 1 hour to surrender. If you refuse, we will demonstrate what human creativity can do to your world." "You're bluffing," the alien commander said. "No weapon can penetrate our planetary shields." Jinha smiled. "We don't need to penetrate your shields. We're going to do something much more interesting." Dr. Harin Kim's consciousness spread through the quantum networks that connected every human ship and weapon. She was no longer one person. She was the collective mind of humanity's war machine, and right now she was very angry. "Initiating Project Hellfire," she announced through speakers across the solar system. Harin had spent years studying how to break things that couldn't be broken. The aliens thought their planetary shields were perfect. They were wrong. The shields protected against attacks from outside. They didn't protect against attacks from inside reality itself. Harin reached out with weapons that existed in 11 dimensions at once. She touched the space around Xerion Prime and twisted it. The planet's shields flickered as the laws of physics began to bend. "Warning, the alien commander," she said. 30 minutes until dimensional cascade failure. Recommend immediate surrender." But the alien commander still believed his shields would protect him. He was about to learn why humans were the most dangerous species in the galaxy. Admiral Quan Li watched the reports coming in from human agents across the galaxy. The plan was working perfectly. Too perfectly. That worried him. "Sir," one of his intelligence officers called out, "we're getting reports of alien fleet movements near the core worlds. Something big is coming." Quan studied the tactical display. The aliens were gathering their reserve fleets, ships that had been hidden for centuries, weapons that had been kept secret. The hegemony was finally taking humanity seriously. "How many ships?" Quan asked. "At least 5,000, sir. Maybe more. They're bringing everything they have." Quan felt a chill. 5,000 ships was more than humanity had ever faced, but it was also exactly what he had been hoping for. The aliens were finally committing all their forces to one battle that would decide the fate of the galaxy. "Send word to all human forces," Quan ordered. "Tell them it's time for Phase 3. Tell them the real war is about to begin." But even as he gave the order, Quan wondered if humanity was ready for what was coming. They had been fighting alien fleets and outposts. Now they would face the full military might of 12 advanced civilizations. Captain Rex Torres felt his ship scream as it phased through 7 dimensions at once. He was no longer fully human. The Wraith fighter had bonded with his nervous system so completely that he couldn't tell where he ended, and the machine began. "Wraith 1 to all units," he said over the radio. "I'm seeing massive alien fleet movements in Sector 7. They're bringing the big guns." Rex could see ships that were larger than anything humanity had encountered before. Vessels that looked like moving cities. Weapons platforms the size of moons. The aliens were done playing games. "Orders from command," came the reply. "You are to scout their flagship and report back. Do not engage." Rex laughed. "Do not engage? Have they seen the size of that thing?" The alien flagship was bigger than Earth's moon. It had weapons that could crack planets, shields that could deflect stars. It was the most powerful warship ever built. Rex dove his fighter toward the massive vessel. As he got closer, he realized something that made his blood run cold. The ship wasn't just big, it was ancient, old beyond imagination. This wasn't just a warship. It was something that had been sleeping in the depths of space for millions of years. "Command, this is Wraith 1, Rex said quietly. "I think we just woke up something that was never supposed to wake up." General Jake Morrison stood in the ruins of an alien military base on the planet Corvin. His armor had adapted to 12 different types of enemy weapons in the past hour. His soldiers were moving through the base like ghosts, appearing and disappearing at will. "Sir," One of his lieutenants called out, "We found something. You need to see this." Jake followed the soldier into a deep underground chamber. What he saw there made him stop cold. The chamber was filled with stasis pods, millions of them, and inside each pod was a creature that Jake had never seen before. "What are they?" the lieutenant asked. Jake studied the sleeping beings. They were tall and thin, with features that looked almost human but wrong in ways he couldn't explain. Their skin was pale as starlight. Their eyes, even closed, seemed to glow. "I don't know," Jake said, "but I don't think they're aliens." One of his soldiers was scanning the pods with human technology. "Sir, these beings have been asleep for over 10 million years. And sir, their DNA, it's similar to ours." Jake felt the world spin around him. 10 million years, before any of the current alien species had evolved, before the galaxy had been divided into the territories he knew. "Wake one of them up," Jake ordered. "Sir, that might not be safe." "Wake one up," Jake repeated. "I need to know what we're dealing with." The soldier activated the revival sequence on one of the pods. Slowly, the ancient being's eyes opened. They were silver, like liquid metal. When the creature spoke, it was in perfect English. "Finally," the ancient being said, "we have been waiting so long for our children to come home." On Zerion Prime, the dimensional cascade began exactly 30 minutes after Haren's warning. The planet's shields flickered once, twice, then shattered like glass. But Haren wasn't destroying the world. She was doing something much stranger. The planet began to phase in and out of normal space. Sometimes it was there, sometimes it wasn't. The millions of aliens on the surface found themselves existing in multiple dimensions at the same time. "Surrender now," Haren's voice echoed across the world. "Or experience existence in all 11 dimensions simultaneously. I'm told it's quite uncomfortable." The alien commander finally understood that humans didn't fight wars the way other species did. They didn't just kill their enemies. They made their enemies wish they had never been born. "We surrender," the commander screamed. "Please, we surrender." Haren returned the planet to normal space. "Surrender accepted. Please prepare for human occupation forces." But even as humanity celebrated another victory, the ancient ships from the core worlds continued their approach. Commander Vex Kular, barely alive after his flagship was destroyed, managed to send one final message before his escape pod was captured. "This is not over, humans," he whispered into his communicator. "You think you are the apex predators of this galaxy, but you have forgotten something important. You are not the only species that knows how to evolve. You are not the only species that knows how to adapt. And you are certainly not the only species that knows how to be dangerous when cornered." The message reached the approaching fleet of ancient ships. Inside the largest vessel, something that had been sleeping for eons began to stir. Something that remembered when the galaxy was young. Something that remembered the last time a species had grown too powerful and needed to be reminded of its place. The real war was about to begin. And for the first time since the fighting started, humanity was going to face an enemy that might be just as creative, just as adaptable, and just as dangerous as they were. The heavens hadn't just cracked. They had broken completely. And now, ancient powers that had slept since the dawn of time were waking up to see what all the noise was about. The ancient being that had awakened in General Jake Morrison's presence stood slowly. Its silver eyes studied Jake with the patience of something that had watched stars being born. "You have grown strong, little ones," it said in perfect English. "Stronger than we expected, but not strong enough for what is coming." "What are you?" Jake asked. "What do you mean by our children?" The ancient being smiled sadly. "We are the firstborn. We seeded this galaxy with life 10 million years ago. Humanity was our greatest creation, the species we designed to inherit everything when we grew tired of existence." Jake's armor systems were going crazy, trying to scan the being. Nothing worked. It was as if the creature existed beyond normal reality. "We went to sleep," the firstborn continued, "waiting for you to grow strong enough to take our place. But we left guardians, watchers. The species you call the hegemony were meant to guide you, Instead, they tried to cage you. So you're here to help us? The firstborn's smile disappeared. No, child. We are here to test you. The galaxy can only have one apex species. If humanity is truly ready to inherit our place, you must prove it. You must face the trial of gods. Commander Jinha Park watched in horror as his sensors picked up the approaching fleet. 5,000 alien ships. But these were different from anything he had seen before. They moved wrong. They bent space around them. They seemed to exist in multiple places at once. Sir, his sensor officer called out. I'm reading impossible energy signatures. These ships, they're not following the laws of physics. Jinha studied the data. The lead ship was the size of a small planet. Behind it came vessels that looked like living creatures made of metal and starlight, weapons that existed in dimensions humans couldn't even see. Get me Admiral Quan and Dr. Harin, Jinha ordered. We need to... He never finished the sentence. Space itself seemed to tear open in front of his ship. A voice spoke directly into his mind, bypassing all communication systems. I am Eternal Sky Destroyer, first guardian of the hegemony. You have played your games long enough, humans. Now face the power of gods. Dr. Ha-Rin Kim felt her hybrid consciousness recoil as something vast and alien touched her mind. For the first time since her transformation, she felt fear. Whatever was approaching wasn't just advanced technology. It was something that existed beyond the normal universe. All human forces, she broadcast across every communication channel. We are facing an enemy unlike anything we've prepared for. These beings, they're not from our reality. Harin tried to scan the approaching fleet with her quantum sensors. The readings made no sense. The ships seemed to exist in 11 dimensions at once, just like her weapons, but naturally, as if they had been built by beings who saw all of reality as their playground. Initiating full defensive protocols, she announced. All dimensional weapons online, all phase drives ready. If we're going to die, we're going to take them with us. But even as she said it, Harin wondered if human weapons would work against beings that treated the laws of physics like suggestions. Admiral Quan Li stared at the tactical display in disbelief. His perfect plan, 50 years in the making, was falling apart. The approaching enemy fleet wasn't just bigger than anything he had prepared for. It was impossible. Sir, one of his officers reported, our sleeper agents throughout the galaxy are going silent. Not dead. Silent. As if something is cutting them off from us. Quan felt his stomach drop. His network of human agents was his greatest advantage. Without them, humanity was fighting blind. What about our captured alien ships? They're shutting down, sir, all of them. The alien technology is refusing to work for us. Quan understood. The approaching fleet wasn't just the hegemony's hidden military. It was the hegemony's true masters. The beings who had built all the technology humanity had been stealing and modifying. Send word to all human forces, Quan ordered. We're on our own now. No alien technology, no captured ships, just human weapons and human courage. Let's see if that's enough. Captain Rex Torres felt his Wraith fighter scream in pain as something touched its mind. The ship that had bonded with his nervous system was trying to break free, trying to flee from whatever was approaching. Easy, girl, Rex whispered, trying to calm his ship. We've been through worse. But that was a lie. They hadn't been through anything like this. Rex could see the lead enemy ship now, and it hurt to look at. The vessel seemed to be made of folded space and compressed time. Weapons that existed in colors he didn't have names for. Shields that bent reality around them. Wraith 1 to all fighters, Rex called over the radio. Whatever happens, keep fighting. Remember what we're fighting for. Rex dove his ship toward the enemy fleet. As he got closer, he felt something trying to enter his mind. Something vast and cold and utterly alien. It spoke without words. You are children playing with toys you do not understand. Return to your small world and we will let you live. Rex laughed even though he was terrified. Sorry, but humans don't know how to quit. It's kind of our thing. He fired his phase weapons at the nearest enemy ship. The beam struck some kind of shield and simply disappeared. Not reflected, not absorbed, gone, as if they had never existed. "Well," Rex said to his ship, "this is going to be interesting." General Jake Morrison left the awakened firstborn in the underground chamber and returned to the surface. His mind was reeling from what he had learned. Humanity wasn't just another species. They were the chosen heirs of beings who had shaped the galaxy itself, but that also meant they were being tested, and if they failed, they would be destroyed just as thoroughly as they had destroyed their enemies. "Sir!" one of his soldiers called out. "Orders from command. We're being recalled to Earth immediately. Something big is happening." Jake looked up at the alien sky. He could see stars disappearing one by one, as if something vast was moving between them and the planet. The final test was beginning. "All units prepare for emergency extraction," Jake ordered. "We're going home to fight gods." On Earth, in the underground command center, the leaders of humanity gathered for what might be their final battle. Jinha, Harin, Quan, Rex, and Jake stood around a holographic display showing the approaching enemy fleet. "Options?" Jinha asked quietly. "We have dimensional weapons that can crack reality," Harin reported. "But their ships seem to exist outside normal reality. I'm not sure our weapons will work." "We have the element of surprise," Quan said. "They think they know what humans can do. They're wrong." "We have the fastest ships in the galaxy," Rex added. "Maybe we can outrun them." Jake shook his head. "We can't run, and we can't hide. These beings created us to be the ultimate survivors. Time to show them they did their job too well." "What do you mean?" Jinha asked. Jake smiled grimly. "They made us to inherit the galaxy. That means they made us to replace them, even if we have to kill gods to do it." High above Earth, space began to tear open. The enemy fleet emerged from whatever dimension they had been hiding in. Ships the size of moons, weapons that could destroy stars, beings that had ruled the galaxy since before life began. Eternal Sky Destroyer's voice echoed across every human communication channel. "Children of the Firstborn, you have failed your test. You were meant to unite the galaxy in peace. Instead, you brought only war. You were meant to protect life. Instead, you brought only death. You are not worthy to inherit our legacy. Prepare for judgment." The ancient god ships began to power up weapons that could crack planets. But as they did, something unexpected happened. Every human ship, every human weapon, every human soldier began to glow with the same silver light that had shone in the Firstborn's eyes. Dr. Harin's hybrid consciousness suddenly expanded beyond anything she had ever imagined. She could see the connections between all things, the quantum threads that held reality together, the weak points in the fabric of space and time. "All human forces," she broadcast, her voice now carrying harmonics that touched 11 dimensions at once. "I understand now. We weren't just meant to inherit their technology. We were meant to become them. The Firstborn didn't die. They evolved. And now it's our turn." The real battle was about to begin. Not just a war between species, but a war between different stages of evolution itself, between what gods were and what gods could become. And for the first time in 10 million years, the ancient powers that had shaped the galaxy felt something they had forgotten existed. They felt fear. The silver light that flowed through every human grew brighter as Eternal Sky Destroyer's godships prepared to fire. But Dr. Harin Kim was no longer afraid. She could feel the evolution happening inside every human soul. They weren't just becoming stronger. They were becoming something entirely new. "All human forces," she broadcast, her voice now carrying the power of stars. "We are not the same species that was caged 300 years ago. We are not even the same species that began this war. We are what the Firstborn always meant us to become." Harin's consciousness expanded beyond the boundaries of flesh and metal. She became the living network that connected every human mind, every human weapon, every human dream of victory. And in that moment, she understood the final truth. The Firstborn hadn't created humanity to replace them. They had created humanity to transcend them. Commander Jinha Park felt the change flowing through his body like liquid fire. His thoughts became faster than light. His perception expanded across dimensions he couldn't name. He was still human, but human had just redefined itself. "All ships prepare for final engagement," he ordered, but his voice carried across space without radio waves, reached into the minds of his soldiers without technology. The human fleet began to transform. Ships that had been built with stolen alien technology suddenly shed their foreign parts like snakes shedding skin. What remained was pure human engineering, but human engineering touched by divine inspiration. "Sir," his tactical officer said, her voice filled with wonder, "our weapons are changing. They're not following any blueprints anymore. They're creating themselves." Jinha nodded. He could see it happening across the entire human fleet. Weapons that thought for themselves, shields that existed in multiple realities at once, engines that bent space and time not through technology, but through will. "Engage the enemy," Jinha commanded. "Show them what their children have become." Admiral Quan Li watched the god ships fire their first volley. Beams of pure destruction that could crack planets struck the human fleet. But instead of destroying the human ships, the weapons were absorbed, consumed, converted into something new. "Impossible," he heard Eternal Sky Destroyer whisper across the cosmic void. "They are stealing our power." Quan smiled. That was what humans did best. They took whatever was thrown at them and made it their own. Even divine power. "All human agents," Quan broadcast to his network across the galaxy, "you are no longer sleeper cells. You are seeds of the new reality. Begin the harvest." Throughout the galaxy, on worlds that thought they were safe, humans who had hidden among alien populations for generations suddenly revealed their true nature. But they weren't just human anymore. They were something that existed between mortal and god. Alien civilizations that had oppressed humanity for centuries found themselves facing beings who could walk through walls, read thoughts, and reshape matter with their hands. The hunter had become the hunted across 1,000 worlds. Captain Rex Torres felt his wraith fighter merge completely with his soul. He was no longer a pilot flying a ship. He was a being of flesh and metal and starlight who could cross between realities at will. "Wraith 1 engaging," he announced, but his voice echoed in dimensions the god ships hadn't known existed. Rex dove toward Eternal Sky Destroyer's flagship. The ancient being tried to stop him with weapons that could destroy suns. But Rex simply phased through the attacks existing in spaces between the spaces where the weapons could reach. He appeared inside the god ship's bridge. Eternal Sky Destroyer stared at him with eyes that had seen the birth of galaxies. "What are you?" the ancient being asked. "I'm what you were afraid we'd become," Rex replied. "I'm a human who refuses to accept limits." Rex reached out with his hand and touched the god ship's central computer. Immediately, the vessel began to change. Its impossible geometry became human geometry. Its divine weapons became human weapons. Its ancient consciousness became part of the growing human network. "One god ship captured," Rex reported, moving to the next target. General Jake Morrison led the assault on the Firstborn's hidden stronghold. The ancient beings had awakened from their 10-million-year sleep to judge their creation. Now they would face that creation's judgment in return. "You were supposed to guide us," Jake said, as he confronted the silver-eyed beings in their crystal city. "Instead, you slept. You left us to figure out everything ourselves." "We gave you guardians," one of the Firstborn replied. "The hegemony was meant to—" "The hegemony tried to destroy us," Jake interrupted. "They tried to cage us. They tried to make us weak. But you know what? We should thank them. Because in trying to break us, they made us stronger than even you imagined." Jake's armor had evolved beyond simple protection. It was now part of his body, part of his soul. He could feel the connections to every other human in the galaxy. They were no longer individuals. They were cells in a vast organism that spanned the stars. "Your test is over," Jake announced. "And we passed, but not the way you expected." The Firstborn began to glow with their ancient power, but Jake and his soldiers glowed brighter. The students had become the teachers. The children had grown beyond their parents. Dr. Haran Kim felt the moment when humanity crossed the final threshold. Every human consciousness joined the network. Every human soul became part of something greater. They were still individuals, but they were also something that had never existed before. The transformation is complete, she announced to the galaxy. Humanity has evolved beyond the need for physical form. We are now beings of pure will and infinite possibility. But even as she spoke, Haran realized something important. Power without wisdom was just destruction. Strength without compassion was just tyranny. Humanity had become gods, but they needed to remember how to be human. All forces, cease offensive operations, she commanded. We have won, but winning is only the beginning. Across the galaxy, the god ships of the ancient powers began to surrender, not because they were defeated, but because they finally understood what they had created. Humanity wasn't just another apex species. They were the next stage of evolution itself. Commander Vex Kular, still trapped in his escape pod, watched in amazement as human ships began rescuing alien survivors. The humans could have destroyed everything. Instead, they chose to rebuild. Why? He asked when Jinha's ship picked up his pod. Why are you saving us? We tried to destroy you. Jinha, now glowing with divine light but still recognizably human, smiled. Because we're still human. And humans protect those who can't protect themselves, even former enemies. 1 year later, the galaxy had been transformed. Humanity ruled not as conquerors, but as guardians. Alien species that had been enemies were now partners in building something new. The hegemony's oppressive laws were replaced, with human principles of freedom and creativity. Emperor Jinha Park stood in his palace on the restored Earth, looking out at stars that no longer held any mystery. Humanity had explored every corner of the galaxy. They had lifted up fallen civilizations and created new ones. But sometimes, in quiet moments, he missed being just human. Dr. Haran Kim had become something beyond physical form, a digital goddess who managed the galaxy's systems with perfect efficiency. But she remembered being a scientist who got excited about new discoveries. Admiral Quan Li wrote the true history of the war, in a small house on a peaceful world, trying to explain to future generations how they had gained everything and what it had cost them. Captain Rex Torres explored the spaces between realities, mapping dimensions that existed beyond normal space-time. He was the galaxy's scout into the infinite unknown. General Jake Morrison led the effort to terraform dead worlds, creating gardens from the ashes of old battles. He believed that if you broke something, you had a duty to make something beautiful from the pieces. On the anniversary of humanity's victory, a new species made first contact with the human empire. They were young, aggressive, full of potential but lacking wisdom. We are the Zephyrians, their leader announced. We challenge your right to rule this galaxy. Jinha looked at the alien delegation and smiled. He remembered when humanity had been just like them, young and angry and convinced they could conquer anything. Welcome to the galaxy, he said warmly. You remind me of someone I used to know. Would you like to hear a story about a species that was once locked in a cage and dreamed of touching the stars? The young aliens listened, fascinated, as Jinha told them about humanity's journey from prisoners to gods, about the price of evolution, about the responsibility that came with power. And when the story was finished, the Zephyrian leader asked, "What happens now?" Jinha looked out at the stars that humanity had claimed not through conquest but through the sheer refusal to accept limits. Now, he said, now we teach you how to become whatever you choose to become, because that's what humans do. We help others find their own path to the impossible. The galaxy had been shattered and remade. The heavens had fallen and been rebuilt. And at the center of it all, humanity remained what they had always been. Survivors who refused to quit, dreamers who made their dreams reality, and guardians who protected those who couldn't protect themselves. The age of gods was over. The age of humans had begun. And this time, they would make sure that no one was ever locked in a cage again.